Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope. Thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the give segment of our app, New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, we thank all of you for your support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to remind all of our listeners and viewers that we are in the midst of our May FijiWater.com sponsored promo. So be mindful of this. We have 1 day remaining in the month for you to go to our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, and you will list the first 3 songs you hear at 12 p.m. or at 6 p.m. Text them along with your name and your email address to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will select one of our listeners and viewers to win a case of Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, from FijiWater.com. And we will make that announcement. Of course, you know we've been doing this for a couple of months now. We will be continuing this throughout the remainder of the year. So you want to make certain that you don't miss out. Go to WKAPFaith.com, our internet radio station. The first 3 songs you hear at 12 noon or at 6 p.m. List those songs along with your name and email address and text them to the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, before I do that, I want to make certain that everyone is aware that you asked for it, you got it. We will be going to a 1-hour broadcast, and we will be making the announcement on what day we will begin. So it's something for all of you to look forward to. You've been asking for continuously if we would go to a 1-hour broadcast. We are going to be doing that. So we will make that announcement on the date that we will go to 12 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you said you have standards that are higher than the men you continue meeting. And you want to know, how do you meet a higher quality man? Or higher quality men, you say. Here's the reality. You keep hanging out with the same people that you've always hung out with. You keep going to the same places you've always gone. You keep doing the same things you've always done. So the result to that is you're going to be introduced to people who are of the same grouping as the people you hang out with. You're going to meet men who are of the same grouping of the places you always go. And you're going to meet men who are of the same grouping of the things you've always done. If you keep doing the same things and expect different results, there's a definition for that. But the reality is that you're not going to get the results that you're searching for if you're not willing to step outside of your comfort zone and learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You like the things you've always done, but they're not resulting in you meeting different people. The goal is, if you have higher standards, to meet people who have higher standards, people who are trying to maximize their quality of life. Your friends, unfortunately, are not people who are trying to maximize their quality of life. They're just living their lives. And it's something I've talked about even on a Sunday in a Sunday sermon. And one of the things I said is that you've got to recognize the goal is to maximize the quality of life. And without getting into a place spiritually where you have a sound relationship with the Lord, you have a real relationship with the Lord, you have to realize that you're going to live, but you're not going to have life. You're going to exist, but you're not going to have life more abundantly, meaning you're not going to maximize your quality of life. So you've got to change some things up. I really want to commend you because you said you set your standards high. You just keep meeting the same men because you're in the same environment. You've got to change that up. You've got to start going to some places where there's a different quality of man. You want a higher quality of man, you've got to position yourself to meet a higher quality of man. And I'm not talking about just hanging out at nice places, because people who don't maximize their quality of life go to nice places. They may not go to the highest quality of place, but they'll go to the trendy spots. They'll go to the places that are fun, places that are popular. But that's not going to get a higher quality of man. You want your standards to be higher, then you've got to stand on that standard. And what that means is you've got to start meeting a new group of people. I'm not telling you to discard all of your friends, because they're your friends. That's okay. They can be your friends, but you don't have to spend a lot of time with them, because they're going to continue doing what they've always done, because that's their comfort zone. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to become comfortable being uncomfortable. You've got to put yourself in places where there's a different type of individual. People who are really seeking to maximize the quality of life. And let me tell you what that looks like. So think about it in these terms. The places you have always gone, you've got to go to places that are completely different, because those places are for that grouping of people. The people that are, living for I can't even say living for the weekend anymore, because that used to be an old adage that people would say, living for the weekend. People aren't even just living for the weekend, they're living life for the whole week. Whenever they can get an opportunity to go out, they want to go out. Not going to maximize the quality of life. You got to pick and choose your moments. And when you pick and choose your moments, pick a better place. And what I mean by that is go places that none of your friends are going to go. Go places that the people you spend more of your time with, you're not going to see them there, because you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with. So if you start spending time with different groupings of people, and it takes time. See, that's another thing. People don't want to allocate their time to improve the standards of living. They don't want to take their time. We live in a microwave society, and some of you have been with the broadcast for a very long time. I'm sure at some point you've heard me make reference to this. We make everything in life about pushing the button and the microwave finishing the product. It doesn't work that way. You've got to have some sweat equity in it. You've got to put time in it. Longevity and consistency are 2 of the keys to success. And let me rephrase that, because I want to put it in order. Consistency and longevity are the keys to success. You've got to start going, or two of the keys to success. You've got to start going places that people you normally spend time with, you will never see them there. Because that's a whole different grouping of people. And what will eventually happen is that in that environment, now instead of the old friends you had introducing you to their cousin's boyfriend, let me rephrase that, their cousin's best friend, you'll start meeting people who are living life at a different level. And you'll start having conversations with them. And they're not going to become your friends overnight, but you'll begin to develop a bond that will allow you to meet a different grouping of people. Now, I know you might be saying, Pastor, that sounds like a setup. It sounds like you're manipulating your circumstances. No, what you are doing is developing your environment, because you're making certain that you're positioning yourself to be in a place where a whole different grouping of people exist. People who have higher quality standards. I'm only responding to your communication. I'm not saying that your friends are goats. All I'm saying is that your friends are people who are doing the same things that they've always done, and they're getting the same results. They go to the same places. You don't belong there. If you set your standard higher, you don't belong in the usual place. And you don't need to do the same things you've always done, because then you get the same results. Put yourself in a position to meet a different quality of man. Go to different places where those men attend. And don't take your friends with you, because it just gives them a bigger crop to pull from. You've got to be willing to put yourself in a different environment and at a different time. Don't think that everything is about a Friday night and Saturday night, because that's when everybody's out. You want to meet people in a different environment, doing some different things. You're going to get some different results. Really focus on what I'm saying to you. The same people, the same places, and the same things get the same results. Start expanding. There's a scripture that says, enlarge my territory. You gotta enlarge your boundaries. You gotta get outside of the boundaries you've set for yourself. And that's the normal thing that you do with yourself and with your friends. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay, you will receive a discount. By attaching your credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. The T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you are in the market for a high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com, where you will have the opportunity to virtually build out the Porsche you desire to own. And if you're in our area, you can go to PorscheDelaware.com, ask to speak to Mike Didio, who is the general manager, PorscheDelaware.com. He will have someone assist you in selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you're currently in our area and you own a Porsche and you just are in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com, ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager. He will have someone schedule an appointment for you. They will pick up your vehicle at your home or office, provide you with a loaner vehicle, and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you keep going from relationship to relationship and none of them have lasted. You want to know, what can you do to keep from experiencing the same failed relationships? Here's the bottom line. So you said some things in your communication that were very interesting. And I see this from time to time with a lot of different people. And here's the reality. So you've watched the women in your family, and you've watched them have relationships. They haven't had healthy relationships, and they too have had a lot of failed relationships. The problem is that you've patterned your method of responding to a man the same way that they respond to a man. So you've patterned yourself and modeled yourself after what you've seen. That's typical of many people. You know, your environment does have a significant impact on the way you're going to conduct your life. Now, there's exceptions to every rule, but that's not the rule. The problem is, because you've modeled yourself after the women in your family, you're having the same issue they're having. Relationship, and even more so because you're younger. So they're not necessarily going from relationship to relationship now. They're just not having a relationship because men of that age group are not going to deal with the same thing that men of your age group are going to deal with, because we're set in our ways and we know what we want to accomplish, and it's worked for us to date. So we're not looking for modern methods. We adapt, but we don't look for modern methods, because modern methods are continuously changing. One thing you cannot do is pattern yourself after the women in your family. And the second thing you cannot do is you cannot pattern yourself after your girlfriends, because they don't know any more than you do. They're trying to figure this out just like you are. But here's what you got to do. And we all need to do this on a continuous basis. And when I say on a continuous basis, look, I always talk about doing every, monthly management reports, quarterly management reports, annual management reports, because I came out of a corporate environment, so I understand what that really means. But you also have to examine yourself, your personality. You have to examine that on a continuous basis. So, one of the things we talk about, for example, in our church, is that we have communion the last Sunday of every month. And one of the things that we remind everyone every last Sunday of the month is to examine yourself. What have you done to improve yourself for the entire month? What have you done to make improvements in yourself monthly, quarterly, annually? How can you improve yourself? Body, mind, and spirit. Well, it's the same thing in our personal lives. We have to examine ourselves when it comes to relationships. We have to say, okay, what am I doing that's, in your case, you say you've gone from relationship to relationship. But if you go from relationship to relationship, the only common denominator is you. So you have to examine yourself, and you have to say, okay, what can I do differently? Is my attitude off? What can I do to improve my attitude? Then you might have to ask yourself, what can I do to improve my behavior? One of the things that many people don't want to do and refuse to do is examine their own behavior. What signals am I giving off? Am I giving off signals that are going to keep people who can bless my life at a distance from me? You got to examine your behavior. And then you have to take a look at, your commitment to being the best version of yourself that you can become, or are you just satisfied with just existing the way you are? And obviously you're going from relationship to relationship. That's not the case. So you've got to really examine yourself. And you've got to say, okay, what can I do differently that's going to make me better? And then here's the goal. So, at the end of the day, you've got to prepare yourself to be in a relationship. And you can't prepare yourself to be in a relationship by talking to, the generation before you that has not had successful relationships. And you can't talk to your generation. You know, one of the things I find very interesting, and this is from a male perspective, I'm just going to say this to you. One of the things that I found that women generally want to talk to other women about relationships. You spend a lot of time, you said in your communication, talking to your girlfriends about relationships. But, however, they don't know any more about relationships than you do. One of the things I notice about women is that they don't particularly, well, not just the millennial generation, baby boomers suffer from this too, but mostly the millennial generation, you will spend more time talking to other women about relationships than you ever will just talking to a man. And I realize some of the topics might be a little sensitive. It might be a little, it's going to cause you to be a little uncomfortable. But you won't ask a man, and I realize, many fathers are not in the household, but you don't talk to men about relationships. You talk to women about relationships. A woman cannot tell you how to have a relationship with a man unless she's had a very long-term relationship and it's successful and it's working. Then if you talk to somebody who's been married for 30 years and that doesn't mean marriage isn't challenging. It just means that they found a way to make it work, and everyone's marriage isn't going to be the same, but at least they know how. But one of the things women don't do is talk to men about relationships. And I'm not talking about someone you're in a relationship with. That's the wrong person to talk to about a relationship because they're dealing with your stuff. But you won't talk to your brothers. You won't talk to your fathers. You won't talk to the male figures in your life. You will talk to other women who have no perspective about a man other than being a woman. You gotta realize that men understand men because we've been men all our lives. And I'm not talking about, men who are living an alternative lifestyle. I'm talking about real men who understand how real men think. We understand what it is to be a man. We don't understand what it is to be a woman. Only you know how to be a woman. But we understand how to be a man. We understand what men are looking for in relationships that perhaps they're not, well, you said it yourself, you go from relationship to relationship. So they're not getting what they want in a relationship. They may hang out with you, they may have a good time with you, but that's not what men are really looking for. Men, I've said this at least once on the broadcast previously, men are naturally nesters. You can go all the way back to the caveman. They found a cave, they found a woman, they dwelled in the cave, they had children. Little cave babies. And the reason is because we are naturally nesters. We're just looking for someone to nest with. And if we can't find that, we just keep going until we find the one we can nest with. So you got to recognize that there's something more going on here, and you're going to have to try a different approach. That's really what life comes down to. If something's not working for you, you've got to try a different approach. You've got to do something different. And you've got to be comfortable. Learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Comcast Business. We all need to be more effective and efficient in business. Comcast Business gives you the opportunity to accomplish just that. So call Eunice at Comcast Business at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope, and you will receive an $800 prepaid Visa gift card with a qualifying gig bundle. So you want to be more effective, you want to be more efficient in your business, contact Comcast Business. Call Eunice at 603-222-7706. Your code is Pastor Pope, and you will receive an $800 prepaid Visa gift card with the qualifying bundle. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, this segment of the broadcast is now going to be brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. I'm in Charles Tyrwhitt attire today. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can contact Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And The White Company, located in London, the UK, they also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at the retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you are a single mother who finds it difficult to date. And you say you're very careful about who you bring around your children, and you said that limits your dating choices. Well, it should limit your dating choices, and let me tell you the reason why. Because you don't want anyone around your children who's going to harm your children as a child. You've got to make certain that they're going to protect and help to provide. You want to make certain that you are really focused on making certain that your children are well rounded, taken care of, they're in a protective environment. That's a good thing. You wanted to limit your dating choices. And then once you prepare yourself, so you said in your communication you really do want to be married, that means you're going to blend a family together. So you've got to first prepare yourself to be a wife. And then you have to prepare your children to understand that when you marry someone, you don't want them to be a step parent, you want them to be a parent. The reason you don't want them to be a step parent is because what you're doing is asking them to take a step back from their lives, step down. But they're stepping up to care for your children, to care for you, to care for your children, and to build a great quality of life together. So even understanding that, you've got to prepare yourself to be someone's wife. And then you have to accept that they're willing to be a parent, that they're willing to be the parental guidance in their life. And then you have to make certain that you're teaching your children to be an asset, not a liability. So that all things can work together for the good, and that you all can accomplish the great things that God has purposed for your life. That will allow the family to be successful, make their way prosperous, have good success, and enter into the fullness of God. That's the goal for everyone, or it should be. And if it's not, you've got some adjustments to make in our lives. Because at the end of the day, for each and every one of us, it should be to maximize, not only become successful, but to maximize our success. Enter into the fullness of God, to get everything that God has purposed for your life accomplished. And then to maximize the fullness of God. And that means that succeeding generations will continue the legacy from generation unto generation unto the fourth and fifth generation. So you got to start thinking about that now while your children are young and while you're preparing yourself to be a wife, and prepare your children to be prepared to be a family. And that will allow you to have a great life, build a great life for your children. Your children shall be blessed, and your children's children shall be blessed. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast, 3D, has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. I look forward to being in your viewing environment tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow's the last day of the Fiji Water